So you're applying for a visa and you want to know what documents you should prepare ahead of your visa application. Now you must know that different embassies do have certain requirements, like requirements in terms of documents that you should include in your visa application. Some embassies do not require documents at all, particularly if you are applying for the visit visa. Now the focus for this video is going to be visit visa, which is a temporary visa. Now for the US would not require any documents, from you. Most people always advise you can go with those documents just in case they demand for it. But I can assure you 9 out of 10 times, US visa, because you have to be, show up physically for an interview, they do not request for any documents. They just would rely on the information that you provide in your visa application form, and also your performance at the interview would be considered. Now, for other countries, let's say you're going to Canada, you're visiting the United Kingdom, or you are applying to the Schengen, any of the Schengen member states, you will be required to include documents, along with your application form. We're going to do a quick rundown on the documents that you require, that you should prepare ahead of your visa application. Of course, the first thing is that you must have a valid passport. Have a valid passport that has an expiry date, that is, longer than 6 months. That would help, because if you have a passport that is almost expiring, most embassies would not give you a visa. Now, if you're traveling for a reason, you will need to show why you want to be there in that destination. If you're the purpose of that would be the purpose of your trip. Why do you want to travel? How do you show the purpose of your trip? If you're traveling on vacation, then it must be that yes, you would require where you're going to stay. And how do you prove that? You will need to show evidence of a hotel reservation that you have made. If you would be staying with a family member or a friend, you just need to provide evidence of that accommodation and whoever you are connected to there, as well as your relationship with that person. Now, how would you be able to explain this? You can do this in your cover letter. You would state that you'll be staying at this destination with your sister, with your friend, your childhood friend. That would basically explain your relationship with that person. Now, if you'll be attending a conference or a wedding or a graduation, you do want to show evidence that you have paid for that conference, and let's say that conference is relevant to what you do. And if you're attending a wedding, you need to show, let's say you need the invitation card, of the wedding, or, and then also include in the cover letter, explain your relationship with these people and why it's important for you to be there. If you would be attending a graduation ceremony, let's say your sister is graduating, your mother, your daughter is graduating, you also want to show, evidence that yes, this person was in school, they have completed their education, proof that they are graduating, and also an invitation. Of course, once you have done that, you also want to, for embassies that do require to see like a flight plan, a flight itinerary, most times they don't require that you pay for it. You don't have to pay for it. You can actually get a reservation just to show how you intend to route your trip. You can simply do that online. If you can't do it, you can actually get any ticketing agent to do that for you. Now, I must mention that regarding the accommodation, if you're booking a hotel and you need to show hotel reservation, you don't have to pay for that hotel. There are many websites that allows you book, for an accommodation, and then gives you a long period of time, to allow for cancellation if that is what, for example, in cases where your visa is not granted. So at least you're not denied a visa, and then you have to deal with, paying for, a hotel reservation that you do not plan to stay in. But you would need to include your bank statement. Your bank statement is going to be your proof of funds. Now, your bank statement must have, must show that you have money, to pay for your trip. And then I always advise people to leave a little room, a little extra to take care of themselves when they return home. Now, your bank statement must not be dormant. It must show inflow, it must show outflow, it must show that you on a regular basis you see money. It's not a case of you're traveling and then you just invited people to pay huge sum of money to your bank account to show that you can afford that trip. They won't just be relying on the proof of funds, they would also want to see the source of funds. So your source of funds would be your earnings, from your job, from your business, or from whatever investment that you have. That is also documents that you might need to include in your visa application. If you are employed, you need to get you can include your employment letter. You can also get an introduction letter from your company. Basically, they would be introducing you to the embassy and stating that you work for them and then your role in that organization. Now, it's also important that you might want to include like a leave letter where your leave has been approved. Whoever is in charge can give you a leave approval letter to show that yes, on XYZ day you will be away, and then it should also include the day that you would come back. Of course, your employer would introduce you and then would vouch for you. Now, when you attach evidence of your employment, also include your ID card. It would also help. It would also help your case. Now, if you're self-employed, yes, you can actually show evidence that you have a business or you have a company. Now, to prove that your business or your company is a going concern, you may also want to show evidence that you have paid your annual returns up to date. So if you say you own a company, you also want to prove to them that this company is functional, it has a bank account, I pay my annual returns up to date. Now, when you pay your annual returns up to date, CAC would issue an acknowledgement letter, to that company or business. Now, it is okay to attach that acknowledgement to your visa application. That will show proof that this company is active, you have filed and paid for your annual returns up to date, and you are really in business, and that shows strong ties. So these are things you need to note, because if you're not updated on your annual returns, if they Google your company, they will show the company, but the status will be showing inactive. So it will look as if maybe it's a company that you're not, maybe you've neglected the company, or maybe you're not actively in business. So these are things you want to be sure that you're up to date with the Corporate Affairs Commission, just so you would be able to present, be able to use that as proof of strong ties. Also, feel free to attach your company's bank statement to show that yes, this company makes money. If you have a board, you can have your board introduce you, or you can have any director in your company introduce you. And even if you don't have any of that, if you're a sole proprietor, you do the introduction yourself, introduce yourself, tell them what you do, and attach this document. Yes, it qualifies. And then I also advise people, particularly if you're a professional, I find that most people who really deserve a visa are not able to present themselves like in the the Nigerians will say package themselves in a way that would show that yes, they're genuine, visitors. Now, if someone goes online and Googles your name, now what would they find? Take a moment to think about that. If you say you're a professional and you've been doing something for a while, if they Google and then they cannot see you, at least put your business online. This is the 21st century. Most businesses have an online presence. So put your business online. If you want to live a private life, you don't want to put yourself out there, then put your business online, because if someone goes looking for you, they would actually get that information. Now, the thing is that embassies now understand, so that people have social lives. And what do? Embassies now even go further to request for social media accounts so that they can trace you and know if you're a real person, and also see your activities. So you also want to be careful about the things that you post on social media when you're there, and then you're just there throwing shades at people, throwing shades at countries, and just doing things that don't agree with certain people. I don't know, for whatever reason, you should be concerned about how you are perceived by other people, and then just don't dabble into things that are seen as negative, or things that do not edify you in any way. So you do want to protect your public image, particularly if you're a professional. But of course, if you're in showbiz, you can be as you want. But then if you're a professional and then you want to prove that you are the best at what you do, and then you have strong ties to your home country, then you want to influence the way people perceive you by having a good professional social media presence, and then engaging in a way that reflects who you are. So I hope this was useful. There's another thing that you need to show would be proof of strong ties. Now, for if you're married, you need to show your marriage certificate. If your husband is not going to be traveling with you, you can have your husband write a letter and introduce you and say you're going on a trip and then you'll be back with the kids or whatever, and you'll be back shortly. If you do have parents who are doing well, you can also have your parents introduce you that, oh, you're the child, and then you're going on vacation, you'll be back. If you do have family photos, if you do have maybe like a group family photo, you're married, you have children, you also want to include that to show that, okay, this is your husband and these are your kids, you want to include that. Still on strong ties, if you do have evidence of assets that you own in the company now, well, unfortunately, visa application just has you, I'm applying for visas, particularly in countries like Nigeria, just has you opening up yourself. Maybe for people who are private, it just has you opening up yourself and your earnings and your investments, to people that you do not even know. So for someone who is private, you might actually find that disturbing. But of course, if it would help your application if you can show proof that you own assets, investments in your home country. Yes, I know, it might not be, what you might want to do, but if you've had difficulties in the past getting a visa, just showing one or two, you don't have to show all the assets that you have, but you can identify one or two that you can share, and then just, put it there just to show that you do have strong ties to your home country. Now, you also know that in Nigeria, we have the habit of paying rent 1 year in advance. Now for someone who intends to abandon, their life at home and travel out of the country, they won't be renewing their rent for a year. Well, that's so you do want to show that as proof. You own a car in Nigeria. When you own these things, most of us own these things 100%. You want to show proof that you own a car and other things, and it's fully paid up, and then other things that you think that might support, your application. You have shares. If you want to include it there, you can include it. If you have mutual funds, whatever investment that you have, if you have government bond, you just want to show proof of that. If you don't feel comfortable, revealing all that information, please don't. Do what only feels comfortable, and then we hope that would be enough. You will be required to make a photocopy of your data page. Now, when you're also making photocopy of the data page, also include previous visas you've had either to that country or any other country, including stamps, entry and exit stamp. If you enter a country, most countries will stamp you in and stamp you out. You want to include those, make a photocopy of your passport, the pages of your passport to show your travel history. Travel history is important. Most countries would give you a visa if they realize that you've been to other places and then you went back home without any issues. So they would trust that, yes, if you could go to other places and then you didn't stay back, when you come to their country, you would also go back home because you have a good travel history. So I hope this was useful. Now, if you did like this content, hit the like button. And then don't forget to subscribe if you want to keep seeing videos like this. My name is Otto Tom, and I hope that I educated you in this video. Please share with someone, because there's so many people out there that that are not armed with this information, and then they go try the first time, they fail, and then they, it's better to do it the first time and do it well so you don't have to do it again. So thank you very much for joining me. Bye-bye.